Hey guys, welcome to A Little Bit of Monica. I am beyond excited to be starting this very first Realmathon vlog. I am so eager to be getting into this month, this readathon that I have been anticipating for so long. If you don't know what Realmathon is, this is a month-long readathon in the month of March this year, and it is hosted by Cassidy from Covers with Cassidy, but she also has the help of a few wonderful co-hosts. I am in the Realm of Shadows team, which is co-hosted by Mel from Eleanor Reads and Lexi from Books with Lexi. They are incredible, and I'm so excited to be getting into this month where we're going to be competing for points based on the books we're reading. So this is just going to be a really good time. I hope that you're participating, but if you're not, please do consider signing up to take part in this readathon because it is so much fun and the time is finally here. So I'm going to be documenting my reading journey throughout this month in a couple of weekly vlog style videos so that you can see all the books that I'm reading, and I'm really excited because I feel like this is going to be a really good month. I have so many big plans on books to be reading, and so I do want to share with you the book that I am currently working on, which is Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. Now, this is my first time reading this series. I just finished reading the ACOTAR series like a week and a half to 2 weeks ago and absolutely loved that series, and I'm so excited to be getting into these as well. Now, I did technically start this book a couple days ago, and I read less than 100 pages. Like, I didn't even quite get through the first 100 pages of this book, but I'm doing it with a buddy read, and they all ended up going ahead of me because I got a little bit sidetracked. I'm picking back up with this book today, and so far it is really interesting. I am really liking the characters. It's definitely a different vibe, and I feel like this main character is very different than what I had expected her to be, but not a bad thing. I love that she's an assassin. So she's got that kind of like stabby vibe, but she also really appreciates like the finer things in life, and the kind of dynamic between the main characters in the story. It's already getting very interesting. I don't really know where it's going to go. I have managed to escape most, if not all, spoilers for this series so far, so I genuinely have absolutely no idea what is going to be happening. And it makes me very nervous, but I like the characters, I like the dynamic, I like the competition setting, and I'm just gonna be really excited to be getting into this. I will update you when I am further into the book, but for now, let's get reading. Okay, so I am like, I don't know, like a third of the way through this book. I've only read like 60 pages today, and honestly, I feel like I'm going crazy. I don't know what it is with Sarah J. Maas books, but the same thing happened when I was reading, which one was it? A Court of Mist and Fury, the second book in the ACOTAR series. And I kept feeling like I was forgetting everything that was happening. Like, they were talking about things that I was like, wait, are we sure that that happened in the first book? Like, I don't remember it. Okay, it's happening in this book now too, except this is the first book in the series. And they keep making references, like they were just having a conversation where they were talking about like, oh, yesterday you said you hated me. And I was like, when did she say that? Like, I don't remember that conversation. I flipped back to the page and I was like, that was never said. Like, did I miss a conversation? Like, what's happening? I feel like I'm going crazy. I'm not enjoying it. Like it's still fine. Like, the story is good. But I am having so many instances where I feel like it's happened multiple times where they say like, oh, well, when you said this, and I was like, when did they say that? I don't remember. What is it with Sarah J. Maas books that this is happening to me? Granted, it only happened with A Court of Mist and Fury. The rest of the books were fine. They were great. I was remembering everything, no issues. But like, this book is doing it, and like, I don't understand. But it's also like, I feel like with the relationships in this book, so Selena is an assassin who is brought in as the like champion for the prince in this competition, and whoever wins the competition gets to be like the king's killer. Like, woohoo, what a prize. But anyway, she is brought in, and she is with the captain of the guard like all the time, but also the prince sometimes. And like, clearly there's a love triangle that hasn't Kovo? Clearly there's a love triangle that has not quite, like, it's not been stated super clearly, but like they're all attracted to each other or something. I don't know. Anyway, their like dynamics feel like they come out of nowhere a little bit. I'm not against it. Like, I'm still kind of like, okay, cool. But yeah, sometimes things are happening and I'm like, wait, when did we get this foundation for this relationship or like this friendship? Like, conversations, I feel like I'm missing things. I feel like a lot of their like relationship building is happening off the page. And I don't get it. And maybe I'm crazy for not letting this like ruin my reading experience right now, but I haven't let it ruin it. Like, I'm still enjoying the plot. The competition element, super fun. Really enjoying it. I don't know. Maybe I'm delusional. I feel like I've been getting enough sleep, but something about today's reading of this book makes me feel like I'm crazy. And I'm trying to finish this book today. I don't know if it's going to happen. I'm also not using the audio, so I'm reading a little bit slower because I'm using my eyeballs. My eyeballs just do not read that fast sometimes, but I don't know. I don't know. Things are weird, but I'm still enjoying it. And I'm hoping that it's going to get better even, because I want to really like this book. Because I want to read the rest of the series. And if I don't like this book, then why would I read the series? Anyway, enough rambling. Let's keep reading. I will update you a bit later. Bye. I am back with a not quite 2/3 update on Throne of Glass. And honestly, I'm so disappointed in this book. I feel like I'm going through the wildest roller coaster of reading this. Here's the thing. I really like the plot of this book. I love the competition element. I love that Selena is an assassin who is kind of like undercover. Like, she's not allowed to tell everybody else who she is, so she has a fake name. And like, I really like that element, that she is trying to be a little bit like the underdog, even though she knows that she's really strong and can probably beat most of them in her sleep. I just love this. Okay, the plot, so good. It's the weird love triangle-y type of relationship thing that's happening that is just bugging the heck out of me. And that's just kind of hard to get past. But anyway, today was a much better time. I feel like the plot is plotting. It is working. I am enjoying it. And it's great. However, the last 5 minutes of reading this book had me questioning whether or not I want to keep going, because we got to a scene where Selena was starving prior to this book. She was in prison and she was starving, and because of that, she was not having her period. Like, her monthly cycle had, gone away for a while. And now that she is eating again, she's exercising, she's getting healthy, it's coming back, and she is plagued with the world's worst monthly cramps. And as a woman who also gets really bad cramps sometimes, I feel it. I feel the pain. It's very real pain. It's very uncomfortable. And she is bedridden because she is literally nauseous, like throwing up and cramping really bad. I get it. Girl, I am with you, okay? Here's the thing. The men are being so horrible about it. Kale is like leaving the room because he can't handle being around her, because apparently vomit is just not okay. He's just uncomfortable. Okay, whatever, fine. Get over yourself, but we'll move on. But then the prince comes in, and Dorian is all like, ugh, stop faking it. I know that you're just pretending to be sick so that you can get my attention. Come on, it can't hurt that bad. It's not that bad. And I'm like, I want to hurt you right now. Like, I am so angry at him. Like, what gives him the right to talk like that, to behave like that, to pretend like her problems don't exist? It's so annoying that he is a romantic interest in this book, that I'm supposed to apparently care about him, and he's gonna pull this kind of crap when it is such a realistic problem that, like, men in real life do not, like, appreciate the fact that women genuinely have these kinds of problems. They always think that they're faking it. No, Prince Dorian is dead to me now, and it makes me not want to keep going. I am going to keep going, because at this point, I'm like 2/3 of the way through. I do want to know if this book is going to get better, but right now, I am really defeated. I'm so sad. Like, that just made me so sad, because this book was getting better. Today was a much better experience than last night reading was, and I was like, wow, the plot is picking up. It's good. We're great. Let's keep going. And then this happened. And now I'm just mad at him. And I'm like, I don't want this to be a love triangle. I don't want him to be a romantic interest because he's a piece of crap. Like, what? Excuse me? Anyway, that's all I have for right now. Hopefully I don't have to make another update until I finish the book. But if he pulls another thing like that, I'm going to have to shout about it. So, yeah. I have a Kiara in the background, so enjoy her looking out the window. I just finished reading Throne of Glass. And I have some very conflicting thoughts about this book. I need to hold this on this side so I'm not blocking the view of the real star here. Okay, so there were multiple times where I could have DNF'd this book. And upon finishing it, I don't think I would have been angry if I had DNF'd. I'm so disappointed in how much I didn't love this book. Sarah J. Maas is a very popular author, and this series is very long. There's a lot of books in it, and there's a lot of love for it. Now, I've heard from many people throughout the process of reading this book that this is not a lot of people's favorite book in the series, that this one actually is pretty weak, and a lot of the ones later on are going to get a lot better. But here's the thing. I don't want to have to force myself to power through the first couple of books in a series just to get to a good one that's like worth it. And at this point, I don't know if it's worth it. I am not continuing with the series right now. I will start off by saying that. I do not plan to move on to the next one right now. Will I give it a try eventually? Probably. But as of right now, I'm stopping with where I am. This book is getting 2.5 stars, I think. I think I'll round it up to 3 because overall, I loved the plot of this book for the most part. I feel like the competition setting was fantastic. I think all of the drama around Selena trying to train for this competition, watching her back because she kind of had a target on her back, and also kind of like the twisted, dark mystery of what's killing the champions during the competition. I loved that. I thought it was fantastic. And I think that where the mystery goes with the cause of like what was killing the champions, I think was fun. I think it was great. But it felt like towards the end of the book, this book was trying to do too many things and none of them were making sense to me. Like, I was following the story fine, but like it just didn't feel like things combined correctly in my brain. Like, it just felt jumbled. Like, there were too many things trying to happen. And when you mix that with the fact that I did not like these characters, I didn't care about them. I love romance. I am a romance and fantasy romance girly, and the romance was my least favorite part of this book, like, for sure. I absolutely hated the love triangle. I thought it was pointless, and also it was never even like addressed as a love triangle. They were all just kind of dancing around the idea, and it was just like super awkward. Like, all of them were awkward to interact with, and I just didn't care. I didn't care about the romance at all. Wait, no, I take it back. I did care about the romance, and I cared in a negative way. I already mentioned the scene that literally made me irrationally angry against the prince. I hated him from then on. Like, he could try to defend his actions. He didn't. He could try to be a better person. He didn't. He was just annoying. I just hated him. And it didn't help the fact that this book just felt so YA. It was painful. Like, I'm sorry, but if you are an assassin who has been hardened into the like prison system that she had been a part of, if you are the prince who has enough responsibility and honestly, for the most part, seems to have enough brain power to act mature like most of the time, or if you're like mature enough to be the captain of the guard, as like these 3 main characters are, I feel like you should have more thoughts going on in your brain than, wow, she's pretty, and oh my gosh, he's so handsome. Because that was literally every other page. Like, I'm sorry, but there was no chemistry. There was no chemistry between these characters whatsoever. Like, they just thought that each other was attractive and then used that as if it was supposed to be foundation for like deeper feelings. If they're just attracted to each other and they want to use that to their advantage, fine, whatever. I don't care. But don't have that be the only like factor between them and then try to make me feel like they have something deeper, because they don't. Like, it was all a, wow, he's so handsome. Everyone was handsome in this book. She described literally every man, including the main competitor in the stupid competition. she just kept saying about how handsome he was and how handsome he'd be if he wasn't so awful to her. I'm like, stop calling everyone handsome. Like, have other descriptions or something, or just like, I don't know, form real connections. I feel like I'm being so dramatic about this, but like this book was kind of painful to read at times because I feel like everything was shallow when it came to all of the relationships. Everything was shallow. And as I'm saying that out loud, I feel like that's the perfect description for how this book made me feel. It felt shallow and unimportant. And when this is a fantasy romance where I'm supposed to care about the characters, I'm supposed to care about the relationships they have, I don't want a shallow romance. I want them to have actual connections, the ones that they're claiming to already have. It just didn't make any sense to me. However, when they get to the final stage of the competition and they're having the duel, I did really like that scene. And I liked the inner war that they each had, Dorian and Kale had, with like wanting to step in but knowing that they shouldn't and can't. I liked that dynamic. It felt more natural, it felt more raw, but like every other individual interaction that they had with Selena just felt so dumb. I don't know. Ugh, this book was frustrating because I wanted to like it. And I liked the plot, I liked the idea, the synopsis, the main trajectory of the plot, but the characters were so irritating, they made me not want to keep going. And that's just such a disappointment because I know that like people really love this series, but I can't understand why. Now, had I been using an audiobook to get through this a little faster, would that have helped? Maybe, but it wouldn't have taken away the fact that I still don't like the characters. So anyway, that comes to the end of my rant here, but yeah, sad development here on the Throne of Glass page. I am stopping with the series right now. Will I come back to it? Maybe one day. But right now I need to move on to things that are going to make me feel better about anything. So that's the end of this. I did just fill out my submission form for Realmathon. Now I cannot wait to move on to my next book. I don't know what it's gonna be. I need to go pick something that's gonna be fun and lighthearted, or just something that's gonna pick me up after this one. So let's find a new book. I am completely switching vibes for the next book that I'm going to be reading, and I am switching to a horror ebook. So I had requested a book from Libby like 2 weeks ago for 72 Hours Readathon, and I didn't end up reading it that weekend, but I still have it, and it's due in like a week. So I'm going to read it. It is The Patient by Jasper DeWitt, and this book I have heard so many good things about. I know some people who gave it some very high ratings, which makes me very excited to read it. It is pretty short. I think it's like just over 200 pages, which is exciting for me because I feel like I do want and need something short to recover from Throne of Glass. Whoops. Anyway, let's get started with reading this book. I don't know a whole lot of what it's about other than a man, possibly like a psychologist or something, who goes to meet with a patient that has a mystery condition, and they're gonna find out what's wrong with the person. I think. Maybe not. I'm going to find out, and I will update you once I have made some progress in this new book. I am back with a 60% update for The Patient, and so far I'm really enjoying this book. It is a like psychological horror that is so good right now. We are following a psychiatrist who is like newly employed at this hospital, and there is a patient there that is infamously known within the hospital for being incurable, for being diagnosed, re-diagnosed, misdiagnosed, and everybody's terrified of this person. There is a history in the file about like other patients or doctors being hurt or terrorized, quitting, going crazy, or even trying to kill themselves following working with this patient. So there's this whole mystery about what's going on, and this new doctor, Parker, takes it upon himself that he is so very interested in trying to figure out what's going on with this patient that he decides to volunteer to become this patient's new doctor and do some therapy. So he has met with this patient and is trying to unravel the truth of what is going on here. This patient has been in this hospital for over 30 years, admitted as a 6-year-old child, and is now in his 30s, and nobody seems to know what's going on. There's a lot of secrets. Like, you can just tell that there's a lot of people who aren't giving the whole story, but Parker is trying to uncover what the truth is. Is it malpractice? Is it something beyond what they can possibly imagine with like literally like what's wrong with this patient. And yeah, it's just very interesting. It's very creepy and eerie, and some of it is like making me very uncomfortable in a way that's just like I don't want to stop reading because I need to know what's going on. I need to understand. And yeah, I don't know. This is so good. And it's very short, so like I'm moving through it really, really quickly. And I forgot to do an update earlier. So at this point, like I'll probably just end up updating at the end of the book as well. But yeah, I'm loving this right now. It is so good. Trending towards, I would say, either a 4 or 5 star. Not quite sure yet. And there's still 40% of the book to go. But whew, I feel like I'm not gonna know what's real and not real at the end of this. Like how do I know or trust anything? I don't know. But I'll let you know what I think once I finished. All right, so I just finished reading The Patient, and I ended up really, really liking this. I feel like it took a different direction than I was anticipating, but I'm gonna give this book 4 stars. I think that it did the creepy factor so well. There were so many parts of this book where I was like genuinely uncomfortable and not like afraid, but also like it was kind of scary. Like the concepts that were introduced and the way that this doctor was figuring everything out, it was just a lot. It was a lot. And I feel like my brain was like sometimes like struggling to like really grasp on to what was happening, but at the same time I fully understood. I don't know if that makes any sort of sense, but like I simultaneously felt like I can't possibly understand what is happening right now, but also I'm following the story super, super closely. And it was so good. It really took some turns towards the end, because like I had mentioned before, this doctor is trying to understand what's wrong with Joe, why he has not been able to be cured, treated properly, why people go crazy or kill themselves after interacting with him, what's going on. This big mystery about Joe. And yeah, Parker is going to find out. This doctor, man, he's going to find out some truth. But I also think that it's cool because I feel like I still have questions after this book is over. And I don't usually like ambiguous endings. They're very hit or miss. And I wouldn't say this is necessarily an ambiguous ending, but I feel like the nature of the story, there's still enough questions at the end that like I'm going to be thinking about it. But at the same time, I feel content with where things ended. I think that this just had a really fantastic timeline of story progression, and I really, really liked the way that the story was written in the like blog posts or like journal entries that Parker is telling his story to the world and revealing what he had experienced, what he learned about Joe and the world in general. And yeah, I really, really liked that style. I think it also made things more personal because he was truly telling his side of the story, and you could see how personally tied to this he became. And I don't know, it just worked really well. Like this concept, it's just so good. It's just so good. So anyway, 4-star read. I need to go submit this for Realmathon because I haven't done that yet. But I also need to find a new book to read. I think I have a couple of books that I have from Libby right now that are going to expire in the next like week or so. So I think I'm probably going to move on to the next one of those, which I have 2 options that I have to decide between. And I'm probably going to try to read both of them this week. One is an Eric LaRocca and the other is a romance. So I have 2 very, very drastically different things to read. I think I might switch to the romance next, but I don't know. So I will let you know once I make my decision. I am back with my update on which book I decided to read next for Realmathon, and I am going to be reading Kindle and audio for A Brush with Love by Maisie Eddings. This book was recommended to me, I think, by Lexi. I just have heard a lot of really good things about this, and I looked up some of the reviews and the description and everything, and this book sounds like it's going to be really, really cute. So I'm very excited. It is about dental hygienists or a student a dental student, maybe. Sounds like they're going to run into each other at some point and become friends and then realize that they have feelings for each other. And you know what? This just sounds super cute, super light, something that is drastically different from The Patient. So I think I need a little bit of a palate cleanser in between some horror shorter books. So I'm gonna give this one a shot. Because I have the audio and the Kindle, I think this is gonna go pretty quickly. It's like an 11-hour audio, and I don't know how many pages this is. 324 pages. This is not gonna be like a super long read, I don't think, but I love a romance, and because of the good things that I've read and heard about this book, I am very excited to be giving it a try. So I'm gonna jump right into this and find out if I'm going to end up loving it as much as I think I'm going to. I know I just said that I'm gonna be starting with a romance, but I am also going to simultaneously start another book because I have problems. Anyway, I'm going to be reading Eric LaRocca's Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke. I've heard amazing things about this horror, and it's like short, so it's going to be hopefully a pretty quick read for me. I have this one also from Libby, and it is going to expire in like a week, so I need to get through this one too. I am going to be using the audio for the romance and also the Kindle probably, but I think I want to have both of these going at the same time. I don't usually have too many books going at once, but currently I think I can handle it. So I'm going to be reading both at the same time. We're going to see how this goes. A romance and a horror. It'll be a nice balance, hopefully. That's what's in my brain. Anyway, so I am going to jump right into these, and I will let you know once I've made some progress in something. Okay, I am here for a 1/3-ish check-in for A Brush with Love. Now, I started this book last night and did not do my update last night because I was too dang tired, but I am liking it so far. I feel like there's been a couple points where things annoyed me about the characters, and I couldn't quite put my finger on exactly what it was that was annoying me. But overall, I think the story is really cute so far. I'm really liking the buildup of friendship that they are gonna be, obviously, like strangers to friends to lovers, I guess. I don't know. I'm liking that. But there was a weird dynamic a couple times. Like, it just felt like some of the actions, or not necessarily the traits, but some of the actions of the main characters felt kind of cartoonish. And like, I don't know. Like, I don't think a real person would have said that or done that. I don't know. But that was very few occasions. But the larger thing I need to say is that Harper is me, and I am Harper. Every time I learn something new about this character, I am literally reading about myself. The, like, anxieties, the pressures to succeed, the perfectionism in the academic setting, all of this. All of this is exactly who I grew up as and have been fighting to not change about myself, but like just fighting to make sure that I am still living life the way that I should be. And so, yeah, it's been very, like, real reading about Harper, which is funny because I just said that it felt like some of the behaviors and, like, lines, their interactions were cartoony, but, like, that's not like the regular, I don't know. Regularly, I think Harper and I feel like I identify with her a lot more than I thought I would, minus the fact that I don't know anything about dentistry. But yeah, I'm just really liking the story, and I'm liking the relationship that's building, so I'm excited to see where this is going to keep going. So I'm going to get back to reading, and I'll update you later. What the fuck did I just read? What did I just read? I am 52% through Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke and Other Misfortunes. I think I just finished the first story, because it's like three different stories, I guess. The first one is the first 50%. And what the heck did I just read? I'm still processing. That was the most bizarre thing. It starts with the sale of an apple peeler, and it ends with the most convoluted internet relationship that, oh my god, like what did I just read? A tapeworm? The tapeworm. Oh my god. If you are a fan of horror, potentially bodily horror, parasitic horror, things like that, I beg you to read this. It's really, really quick. And it's disturbing. But I loved it. And now I'm a little scared, but excited to read the second half of whatever the rest of this book is. I'm sufficiently disturbed and loving it. Well, I did it. I finished Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke and Other Misfortunes by Eric LaRocca. I did it all in one sitting, all in one day. It's quite an accomplishment, except not, because it's only like just over 200 pages. But here's my thoughts. This is a short story collection, and there's definitely some strengths and some weaker parts to this 3-story collection. So the first story, I'm gonna be thinking about it for a while. The raw meat scene is gonna live in this noggin for way longer than it should. Also the tapeworm. The whole thing was just so messy and so disturbing, but so good. It was so good. Then we move on to the second story, which didn't come into play until about halfway through this whole ebook. And the second story, I think, was really interesting. It was very eerie, very creepy, but it didn't hit the same way that the first one did. Now, I think I went into this knowing that was going to happen, so I wasn't like terribly disappointed. It was like within my expectations. But yeah, the second one and the third one were definitely not as good. The third one, okay, wait, let me go back to the second one. So the second story is following a couple whose son dies, and then they become the winter guardians of this island resort thing. So they're the only ones on site, and then a stranger knocks on their door at night and ends up having to stay with them. And some really weird stuff goes down. It was a little bit weird and confusing, but ultimately by the end and the way things unraveled, I was vibing. Like, it wasn't my favorite story ever, but like it was all right. It wasn't terrible. And then we move on to the third story, and plot-wise, this is definitely my least favorite one, but character-wise, I actually loved it. I loved these characters. There's only like 2 main characters, but I feel like the main guy, I already forget his name. I literally just finished reading it and I already forgot his name. But the main guy, it's like him and his husband live on the street, and then like he finds a bone in his backyard and he goes and confronts his neighbor and talks to him about it. And the neighbor starts like betting him different things, like games, like bets. And I don't know, like plot-wise, it was like, oh, okay, cool, the bets are whatever. And then you like get to know the characters and like the reasoning behind the plot. And I've discovered that I am very much like this main character in a lot of ways. And not in a good way. The story takes a turn that is all about the need to please people, the need to maintain a sense of politeness and not professionalism, but just like always trying to keep people happy, even when it makes you uncomfortable. And that's definitely something that in my life I've encountered a lot. I have a people-pleasing personality for sure, and not necessarily to the extent that this guy had, but I definitely see similarities in myself. In like, I will not necessarily do things that make me uncomfortable, but like I will do things that are not necessarily the thing I want to do the most, but I'll do it because other people would be happy. That's just who I am. Now this story puts a negative twist on that, and now I'm questioning myself just a little bit, but it's fine. So like overall, I would say out of the 3 stories here, the first one, definitely the best, without a question. The best. So good, so creepy and interesting. Story 2, a little bit of a letdown. Probably my least favorite of the 3, just because I had less of a personal, I don't know, not like personal, I didn't have a personal connection to the first one, but I had a more strong reaction to the content. The second one I feel like was the most just kind of bland to me, but then story 3, I didn't care about the plot that much, but like the character hit home. So I'm giving this short story collection 4 stars. I think that the last 2 probably would get 3 stars if I was doing them individually, but because it's a collection, I will put them all together as 4. And now I've finished this horror short story collection, and I don't know what's gonna happen next. I actually do need to finish the romance that I started last night, so I guess that's what's up next, because I have that on audio and ebook. But other than that, I'm moving on to the next thing. So a like 69-70% update on A Brush with Love. This is such a cute story. I am having such a good time with this romance. I know my last update I said that there were some things that felt a little bit cartoony about the characters, and while I do think early on in the story that was true, there were just certain, not like traits, but just like certain scenes where something would happen and like it felt too dramatic for what the characters were described to be. I really do think that after that first section of the book, it got so much better. And like I haven't had those like cartoony types of, I don't know, like actions or reactions to things. I feel like the characters have really leveled out and have become consistent with their behaviors and their vocabulary, and just like everything feels really consistent with them, which I love. But also they're realistic in like their feelings. And I had mentioned before that I feel very like personally connected to Harper in a lot of the things that she talks about, and that is still true. And I feel like that just makes her feel so real. But Dan, as a male main character, is also such a good character. I feel like the two of them play off of each other so well. The dynamic that they have is just so precious. I love them so much. Obviously, there's a lot of stress and drama going into it, because very, very clearly Harper is trying to hold back on her emotions because she knows that there's a timeline of where she will probably be leaving, and she doesn't want to start anything super serious knowing that in a few months she's leaving. But Dan is like all in, and like he doesn't really care. Like he's like, I'll take what you can give me. And it's just so cute because you can tell how much each of them cares, and they are genuinely making the best decisions that they think that they can make. But I just read a scene that was so good and so well written in a confrontation between the two of them when they realize that there's a problem that they need to address, and they address it in such a good way. And I just loved it so much. I loved it so much. I don't know where the rest of the story is going to go, because I still have 30% of the book left. And I hate third act breakups. Like I do. And I'm dreading whether or not it's going to happen. I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be. I feel like there shouldn't be, because this has been not like a slow burn because they got very close very quick, but it's been slow burn in the realization and admission of their feelings. And so I don't know what's gonna happen, but I only have 30% of the book left, so I'm gonna keep powering through. I'm hoping to finish this book today. I know I've said that for the past 2 days, but I'm really hoping to finish this book today. But it's so cute and it's so good, and I just like really want to keep loving it as much as I am. Right now it is a 4-star read, 4.5 probably, but yeah, this book is great and I can't wait to find out how it's gonna end. So I just finished reading A Brush with Love, and I don't know what to think. I feel like up until the epilogue, this book was sitting at like a 4-star read, and I felt pretty confident, like 4 to 4.5, but the epilogue launched it into 4.5 to 5-star territory, so I think I'm gonna give this book 5 stars. I absolutely love Harper and I love Dan, individually and also together. I feel like this relationship was so precious and so cute, and it felt so real. As we learn more and grow to know and love them, I'm obsessed with these two characters, everything that they're going through, and how their past defines who they are in the present and what they're trying to do for the future. It was just all, oh my gosh, it was so cute, because I feel like this book tackled some very, very serious issues that were all mentioned in the author's note at the beginning, kind of warning you that some of these things were going to happen, like sexism and discrimination in the workplace / academic setting, which was not as big of a theme as I thought it would be. But you do see where Harper, as a female doctor or dental student, is getting treated poorly because of being a woman and not a man. Horrible. But there was also some very, very detailed and descriptive portrayals of anxiety, panic attacks, and things along those lines. And I feel like it was handled so very well. The way that everything ends up turning out in the end, it was so beautiful and it was so well done. And I just absolutely freaking loved the way this was handled. All of the difficult topics, all of the emotional and mental struggles were handled really, really well. And then I do want to also talk about the fact that I mentioned that the epilogue is what really launched this into such a high rating for me. The ending of the book and the epilogue, because I hate third act breakups, even though they're super common. So I just need them to be done well. And I think this one was done well. But also, I hate romance epilogues because they are always so dramatic for no reason, and almost all of the time they include either a proposal or a pregnancy, and I don't need either of those. I just don't care. Like, honestly, most of the time I don't need the epilogue. I'm happy for the book to just end. However, this one was so freaking cute because it's neither of those things. I literally was giggling because it's like set up to make you think that it's going to be a proposal, and then it's not, and it's absolutely so perfect, and it literally made me fall in love with the book even more. So this was so good, and I'm so glad I read this book. The audiobook, I do want to say, was my least favorite part. I think I hated the male narrator, not because he was a bad male narrator, but because the male doing the female voice was horrible. It was really bad, and it actually took me out of the story quite a bit. But I was reading it on my Kindle as well, so I did have like both things happening, and I was able to keep myself from getting too distracted. But the male narrator doing the female voice for when Harper was talking in Dan's POV chapters, oh, it was really bad. Actually, any of the females, Harper or her friends, they were all really bad when he was reading it. But I think that the female narrator did a fantastic job as Harper, and with her like male voices, I think it all worked really well. It was just the male narrator was really getting on my nerves, and I did not love that. But I was able to push through and ended up really loving this book, and I'm rating it not based on the audio because the ebook itself was so very good. So that's where I'm at with this one. I feel like I've already read more books this week than I do on an average week, and now I don't know what to do with myself. So I'm gonna go pick another book. But yes, that's where I'm at. 5-star read. Now it's time to pick another one and hope that it's gonna be another 5 stars. I have been trying to figure out what I want to read next for a while, and I finally landed on a plan. So basically, I'm trying to do these with about a week span, and as of right now, I am probably not going to finish my next book during this vlog, and that's fine. I'm going to be reading on my Kindle, but I also have the audio for this one, so I can switch back and forth. I'm a little nervous about reading this book, but I got a NetGalley arc of this, but it's already out, and it doesn't have great reviews. But I'm going to be reading We Ate the Dark by Mallory Pearson. This is a horror, and it has a building on the cover, so I'm going to get some bonus points for the shadows for Realmathon. But yeah, it has like a 2.8 rating on Goodreads, which makes me very nervous. I don't understand why it has such a low rating, but I'm gonna find out for myself. So I'm gonna start reading this book. I did pay for the audiobook because it's 92% off on Audible right now. So I paid $2 for the audio, which is fine. I'm hoping that it's gonna help me get through this book. It does say that it's like 400 pages, which I didn't know it was going to be that long. So we're going to hope that this is going to go well. So this is going to be definitely the last book that I'm reading for this vlog, and also I'm probably going to end up carrying over into the next week as well. But next week I do plan to be reading some arcs, so this is going to fit in really, really well with that, even though technically the book's already out. All right, I am back for my final update for this week. It has been 7 days of Realmathon, and I feel like this was such a fun week to kick everything off, and I feel like I read a lot more than I usually do, but it's because I ended up reading some really short books. So I ended up getting through 4 books this past week, and from where I'm currently at, I'm about 21% into, what book was I reading? Oh yeah, We Ate the Dark by Mallory Pearson. Yeah, it's not going super well. I want to keep going, but as of right now, the writing is so like wordy. There's word vomit all over the place. There's way too much being described. I feel like at about 21%, not a lot has happened yet, because every single scene is just described in such detail that like the story's not progressing at all. So I don't actually fully know what things are going to be happening going forward. But as of right now, a young woman, she might have been a teenager, she went missing, and her twin sister and her best friends, nobody ever knew what happened. Fast forward 5 years, this is the prologue, is 5 years later, her body is found inside a tree. Yeah. So now I guess there is going to be an investigation by her twin and best friends, and they're going to figure out what happened to her, I think. But honestly, at the 20-ish% mark, I don't even know. Like, I think they just had the funeral for her, like, following the official announcement that her body was found. Like, that's all the farther I've gotten, 20% into the book. And it just, I don't know, it just feels really slow. I want to keep giving it a try. So I'm going to keep going into the weekend, which will be included more in next week's vlog. But yeah, so far it's slow, but I'm not hating it. But I can understand why this book got some really low reviews, because I feel like a lot of people are having trouble making it past I don't want to say it's like flowery descriptions, because it's not. It is like dark, and it's very like tangible types of like vivid descriptions. It's very, very easy to visualize what's happening, or what the scene that is happening, I guess. But at the same time, it's so easy to get distracted because nothing's happening. You're just reading descriptions over and over again. So that's kind of difficult. I can see why people would give up on it. But I'm not giving up yet. So we're going to push through a little bit more into next week. This week was great. A really, really fun kickoff. I've been having so much fun talking to everybody in the Realmathon Discord, and it's just been such a fun time. I hope everybody's having fun doing this. Thank you to Cassidy and all of the hosts who have been so incredible in leading this charge for the first week. We still have plenty of weeks to go, and Team Shadows, we gotta pick it up. We gotta keep going. We gotta be powering through this month and reading as much as we can. I'm so excited to see where we're gonna go. For now, that is all that I have to update you for this week. So please make sure you're subscribed so that you don't miss out on any of my future videos, because I'm excited for this month and all the fun that it's going to bring. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope that I will see you in the next one. Bye!